You are Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fin fans? Welcome to your Dolphins POSTCAST on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and man, oh man, what a way to get a dub. First one of the preseason, and it came in just the way you would have hoped it would have, right? I mean, a little bit too close for comfort, way too many penalties, the fumbles, the running game, all those things you'll be talking about on talk radio all week long. They can wait. Why? Because we are here to bask in the glow of the victory. And that's right. Beautiful job. Ethan Robinson with a pick. A defensive end goes up in the air, pulls down the pass. The Lions had the ball on the Dolphins' 13-yard line, knocking on the door, down 7 toward the very end of the game, and it was so close down the stretch. And what a play by Ethan Robinson. The defense made big plays when they had to today. Ethan Robinson, just a beautiful job as he literally, from his defensive end spot, went up, jumped, and caught that ball. The hands to do that right there on the spot in your face like that was absolutely phenomenal. The Dolphins run out the clock from there. And, of course, right before that, Quinn Ewers led another scoring drive, 17 points put on the board by the rookie quarterback in the second half. This was a Jason Sanders field goal of 22 yards. Maybe if you were watching the game, Ewers could have run it in at that very spot and risked a collision and whatnot. But, hey, Tua, the main starters and players did not play for the Dolphins today, and look what ends up happening. You get a good hard look at Zach Wilson, and yeah, they had a drive toward the end of the first half in the red zone, 2-minute offense. They give up a sack on fourth down and turn it over on downs with under 2 minutes to play. That was a little bit rough, but Wilson, good numbers, good poise, led a scoring drive of his own. Each of the quarterbacks vying to be the backup behind Tua Tagovailoa played very well today. Obviously, you feel like it's Wilson's job to lose. He played the whole first half, but Quinn Ewers played really well. Now, what a steal he was. People talk about Shedeur Sanders and the way that he slipped on draft day, but what about Ewers? I mean, Heisman candidate going into last year at Texas. I saw it in the chat as I'm watching the game on YouTube. Man, Ewers was a bust at Texas. We should not have picked him. So here we are, Dolphins POSTCAST 24-17, the final, and the Dolphins get into the win column. We'll break it down, tell you which QB played better. They both played great. We'll break that down. Receivers, running backs, who stood out? Offense, play calling, Mike McDaniel, Frank Smith, a lot of heat on the coaching staff. We'll tell you how they performed today and so much more. And who stood out on the defensive side of the ball for a rookie? I'll give you one, Kenneth Grant. Thank God for Kenneth Grant. How about that draft pick? So we have a lot to break down here. Now, this is Dolphins POSTCAST, not the Locked On Dolphins podcast. Kyle's still here every day. I'm on live on YouTube right after the games. After the live show, we upload, you download Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it, wherever you get your podcasts. Then, of course, on Roku, you're down with OTT. Yeah, you know me. This whole party, it's a big party today. 24-17 Dolphins on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your POSTCAST. I'm Grease. What do you say we kick this thing into high gear, baby? Let's roll.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Victory is what we be talking about. How about that win for your Miami Dolphins? And I want to break it down. I'm going to break it down and do whatever I got to do. I got eyes for you. I got eyes for the Dolphins quarterbacks after what we had to deal with last year with Thompson, with Huntley, with everything we were forced to endure. Good Lord, can you imagine it being any worse than last year with Tua just trying to fight for a first down, getting that concussion? We don't need any more PTSD, do we? The Dolphins and Dolphin fans have enough PTSD to last a lifetime, right? No doubt about that with everything that's gone on since the Shula days. And, you know, we don't even need to go there with all that. But my point is a big-time opportunity for this team to erase the stain of what happened last year. It started with Tyreek Hill face down on the ground, getting arrested on his way into the stadium. Tua getting hurt right after that. It did not go well, obviously, for the Dolphins last year. And a big part of the reason why, backup QB. They had no one to play backup quarterback last year. And you know, no disrespect to the guys who tried, but they're just not those guys, right? And you know it. I know it. We all know it. So Zach Wilson brought in. And look, I liked what he did with the Jets. Didn't play last year, or the tutelage of Sean Payton. You know, strong first half for Zach. And then Quinn Ewers, the clear third stringer as of now, Will he be the backup by the end of the year? I don't know, but he sure as hell is pushing Zach Wilson. And both those guys obviously behind Tua, and we'll see how that plays out throughout this year because the running game has been non-existent this preseason. A lot of questions on the offensive line. And without that, what do you have? It doesn't matter how many speedsters you have. It doesn't matter if Waller becomes Waller again. It doesn't matter Tyreek and Waddle and all those. It doesn't matter without that offensive line. And so you don't want to get too crazy about a preseason game. These guys, for the most part, aren't even going to be on the field on Sundays. And if you believe everything you see, hear, read on social media all week long from all the nerds who are out there covering it, then, yeah, you know that the Dolphins were manhandled in the scrimmages against the Lions. And, you know, when you're reporting on scrimmages like that, it's a bit irresponsible because coaches aren't necessarily looking for just plays that work and scoreboard stuff and those sorts of things. They're looking to see who does what in which situation and not necessarily the result of those plays and so forth. So we'll see. You know, the joint practices earlier this week, they probably helped a lot more than the game. But, you know, everyone's saying Zach Wilson's a clear number 2, and he was pretty good today. You know, 15 of 23, 151 yards and a touchdown. Did have that drive toward the end of the half where he took the sack. Didn't have a chance on the play, but they're on the 9-yard line, right? You got to score there. Ewers, though, 11 of 17, 116 yards, 3 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns for Quinn Ewers. Just a real nice job. And again, Jared Goff didn't play. Kyle Allen, Henson Hooker, who took and threw the interception late in the game. Positives, you know, you look at some of the guys who could be playing during the regular season in backup roles in an emergency situation. Even you look at a guy like Aaron Schlampkin, if he makes the team, he had a good game today. I like what, and we're going to get into more of what some of these guys, Dee Eskridge stood out on a drive and the beautiful job of play calling. And I'll get into that in a moment as well. But we're talking about the quarterbacks right now. Wilson with a 11-yard pass to Dee Eskridge late in the first quarter. That was the touchdown pass for him. Late in the second quarter, they're in the red zone. Another chance to score and really not able to do it. You know, Isaac Ukwu sacks Wilson on 4th and 4 as they went for it there. And why not? You don't kick the field goal with Sanders, who was 1 for 1, hit all 3 PATs as well. And how about Ewers with a 15-yard TD pass to Theo Weas Jr. First drive, and then, of course, a fumble punt, and then the field goal by Jake Bates, the 17-14 Lions lead. So certain things for the Dolphins just not happening today. The fumbles are brutal. The penalties, you like to think further into the preseason you get, those things will go away. But again, you got one more game against Jacksonville next Saturday night at home. More on that a little bit later. But Ewers did a nice job. Again, he hit Wease for an 8-yard score with a little over 12 minutes to play to make it 21-17. That was an 8-yarder. And then, of course, Jason Sanders, the 21-yard field goal. Give me chip shot for him to make it a 7-point lead. The defense holds with the Ethan Robinson interception. And, yeah, the Lions drive down the field, and Ethan Robinson intercepts Hooker's pass. But the way the quarterbacks played today, that's something that I really love to get into because that's what you're going to be talking about all week. You know, Tua didn't play. You have to really be nervous about Tua as a Dolphin fan until he proves that he can be durable, play full seasons, put up numbers like he did a couple of years ago. And by the way, while you're here, thank you for making us your first watch or listener of the day. We're free everywhere. And check out Locked On Dolphins podcast as well. A sub, a like, any of those things for this show is the same for Kyle with the podcast. So we are here, and you can come on in the comments during the show live on YouTube and have your voice heard as well. The audience surging right now. Smash the like, subscribe, all those things here for us as we talk about the quarterbacks on your Dolphins postcast. You're looking at those guys right now, 26 of 40 for 3 touchdowns and no picks. Let me say that again, 26 of 40, 3 touchdowns and no picks. They took the sack on 4th down in the red zone. If they had punched one in there, this one might have become a laugher in the second half. And we're really talking about magnificent sterling play from these QBs. There were a couple of times they got lucky. Ewers threw a couple of passes on out patterns that could have and maybe should have been picked off. Wilson had a couple too. And, you know, when you think about the sack, that was a big one, but it was the only sack they took today. Ewers, 11 of 17, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, no sacks. And that drive toward the end of the game, eating up clock, the running game got going. Ewers really commanding that huddle, leading the team down the field. And if that's your QB3, and as a rookie, the chance to develop in this offense behind Tua, in this offense behind a guy like Wilson, who's been dying to get the chance. Look, when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, he wasn't the reason the Jets were losing. He had some good games, some real good games, right? So if he can be that dude, and it's looking like he can be, but with Ewers right there nipping at his heels, man, oh man, you open up a lot of options that you can talk about with Kyle day in and day out, right? But 26 of 40, 3 touchdowns, no picks, only 1 sack taken, only 1 real big mistake taking that sack, giving up that sack, and not scoring at the end of the half. You don't kick the field goal there. It's 4th down. And so taking the sack, you still give them the long field. You don't throw a pick at least, but still, you'd rather have the 3 points had they kicked the field goal regular season. They probably would have. But again, I'm going to say this one more time. Beautiful job, 26 out of 40, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Could you have asked for anything better? Could you have asked for anything better from Zach Wilson, from Quinn Ewers, in terms of what you wanted to see today? And then other guys who stood out, like a Kenneth Grant on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, just talking about Jordan Phillips being a beast among men out there. So Jordan Phillips and Kenneth Grant, and, you know, with Zach Sealer on the interior, Kenneth Grant, they never really were able to replace Christian Wilkins. So you have Kenneth Grant and Zach Sealer in there. And then with Jordan Phillips, man, and then this group of receivers behind Tyreek Hill, behind Jalen Waddle. Obviously, last year, Odell Beckham didn't work out. You had so many things going on, but a guy like Taj Washington really intrigues me. And then you had Wease and Tanner Cooper looking good today in that passing game, and Dee Eskridge. How about that wide receiver screen, a little bubble screen with the blocking on the 3rd and long when the Lions are bringing everyone and everything but the kitchen sink? Don't sleep on McDaniel and Smith. These are brilliant offensive play callers. And Mike McDaniel, the red hot seat with his job on the line, with everything that happened last year, going into the season with such high expectations, some people picking him to win the Super Bowl as a dark horse. I did on ESPN Radio National, and I picked Tua to finish 3rd in the MVP. Imagine how I felt. But looking at this running game heading into the season with Achane and looking at the speedsters outside and can the offensive line rebound, Patrick Paul needing to have a big year. But I believe the backup quarterback position, the quarterback room, is solidified in a way that it wasn't even dreamed of last year. I don't know how you feel, but that's how I see it. And I think it really is going to be awesome moving forward this year. All right, we got to get to some things, and we got to do it in a hurry. Real quick before the break, let's hit something really important in today's game. Let's roll.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Yeah, the turning point of this game came very, very late, to say the least, right? So when you're looking at the turning point in this game, it was absolutely that sequence at the end of the game, right? When you think about what happened down the stretch, and of course, the game decided very late. So it was the interception by Ethan Robinson, and that was a big, big play toward the end of the game. But really, overall, the turning point came as a result of everything that took place in that sequence. So right down the stretch they came, where Quinn Ewers leads the Dolphins on a 15-play, 92-yard drive. Took almost 8 minutes of the clock. They weren't able to punch it in the end zone. Maybe he could have run it in instead of throwing that incomplete pass on 3rd down. But this time they kick the field goal. They go up 7, chip shot for Sanders. So a long drive, 92 yards, takes almost 8 minutes, kills almost the whole clock. They kick the field goal, but still left the Lions a little bit of time, and they had all 3 of their timeouts. So Ethan Robinson's interception, which was huge, and that was, again, on a 2nd down on the Dolphins' 13-yard line with 27 seconds left. They had just spiked the ball, could have tied the game or maybe won it with a 2-point conversion. So there is your turning point. The drive led by Ewers with the Sanders field goal into the Robinson interception. The result, the Dolphins win by 7, 24-17. They beat the Lions in Detroit. Okay, we broke down the quarterback position. I want to talk to you about who else stood out today when we finish with the break, and I'm not going nowhere. Neither are you. It's Dolphins POSTCAST, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, at @JimGrease_ on social media. Maybe some of you have seen me or heard me all the way back to the mid-90s on Miami radio and TV. Went to the U, class of 96. Been a long time covering this team and the Hurricanes, and I'll have the Hurricanes postcast all year for you too. We're free wherever you get your podcasts, free on YouTube, free on Roku as well. 24-17 the final. The Dolphins, the greatest football team. Okay, I'm going to stop. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Going to let you know about a couple of phenomenal deals from a couple of our amazing sponsors just for you. And then we talk about who stood out. We give you the star of the game. We look ahead to Jacksonville next week, and we bounce so that Kyle can take it from there all week long with your Locked On Dolphins podcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Dolphins win by 7. Dolphins postcast. Let's keep it going. Most people, and I mean most people, myself included, until I got with Monarch Money, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Can you? Whether it's 401ks, properties, investments, and when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization for your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. One of the things that I did is I realized how many subscriptions I had forgotten I was paying for. I linked all my accounts to Monarch, immediately spotted a few I wasn't even using. Canceling those alone saved me money. I realized how much I was doing on the food delivery apps. Forget about all that stuff. I mean, it puts the weight on too. You don't want to be doing that when you're heading out in downtown Miami or on the beach or Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach, wherever you are. You want to be looking and feeling your best. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's Monarch Money on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I also get a chance to talk to you about Yahoo Fantasy. That's right, Yahoo Fantasy. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of year. NFL kickoff is almost here. We're getting so close, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. This year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Dolphins POSTCAST, Locked On Dolphins podcast, are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years. The updates they're rolling out this month are wild in the best way. The new guillotine leagues, they just dropped every week. The lowest scoring team is eliminated, and the last one standing, victory. So whether you're all in on something new or you like sticking to head-to-head leagues or jumping into public leagues, Yahoo's got you covered. And to celebrate 28 years of Yahoo Fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. On the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, baby, yours every single day. 24-17, the Dolphins with the win. The two quarterbacks combined. Wilson, Quinn Ewers, 26 of 40, 3 touchdowns, no picks, only 1 sack taken. They had the drive in the red zone that ended with the 4th down sack late in the first half. Wilson dumped to the turf. Lions ended up with the lead, and then the Dolphins put Quinn Ewers in the second half. He was phenomenal. Threw 2 TD passes, was 11 of 16 on the day, led a 92-yard drive late that culminated in a Jason Sanders 21-yard field goal, gave the Phins a 24-17 lead. Then what happens? You got almost 2 minutes left. The Lions have all 3 timeouts. They get a big kick return. They get the ball to the 39-yard line. Down the field they come. Down the field they come. And the Dolphins defense came up really big at the end, as you saw it, and you've been hearing it here on this show if you didn't see it personally. But 9 plays, 48 yards. They have the ball with 27 seconds left after they spiked it. 2nd down on the Dolphins' 13-yard line. And, yeah, beautiful job. Ethan Robinson with the interception to seal the deal. The defensive end jumping up in the air and just pulling it down. Just a beautiful play. So Quinn Ewers, a couple of touchdowns to Theo Weas Jr., and a nice job there. But it was Ethan Robinson intercepting the pass, and that was at the very end of the game to put it away. And the Lions had a chance to tie it, obviously, or win it late, and they were unable to do that because of the fact that Ethan Robinson goes up and grabs the interception. You know what? That was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful by Ethan Robinson, and a nice job to jump up and pick off the pass that was thrown by Henson Hooker in relief of Kyle Allen. And they did allow Kyle Allen to go 14 of 17 for $124 and 2 touchdowns. So the offense has definitely looked really good today. But the quarterback room is solidified for the Dolphins, and that is something that I believe heading into the season is the biggest upgrade coming in. And how about Frank Smith and Mike McDaniel? A lot of real nice play calls today. The third down wide receiver screen to Eskridge. He runs it out. The beautiful blocking. They pick up the first down. The running game got going late as they had that 92-yard drive. A lot of that was chewed up on the ground. But the way that Quinn Ewers is being developed by the staff, do not sleep on the ability of Mike McDaniel to develop young QBs. Zach Wilson, okay, and the Shanahan tree. Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers are in phenomenal position to learn the quarterback position in the NFL. And hopefully Tua can stay healthy all year. Those two guys keep getting better and better. And then Wilson or Ewers comes into a game and you don't miss a beat. All right, we got to get out of here. But before we do, we got a couple more things to do. So here it is. Let's start with this.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
You know where I'm going with this one. It is a two-headed monster at player of the game, and you know what I'm going to say. I mean, Eskridge looked good. Theo Weas looked good. Taj Washington looked good. Jordan Phillips was a beast out there. Judging by performance alone, maybe he was the best. Kenneth Grant, we saw the burst, but your stars of the game, Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers. Wilson, 15 of 23. Ewers, 11 of 17. Each guy almost 7 yards per completion. 1 TD pass for Wilson. 2 TD passes for Ewers. Neither guy threw a pick. Wilson took 1 sack on 4th and 4 in the red zone toward the end of the first half. It could have been an even better day for the Dolphins QBs, but that two-headed monster at QB2 and QB3, your star of the game in combination today. And let me throw it up one time for your mind. Look at this, Miami. First win of the year, 24-17 is the final. I know it's a preseason game, but you saw the coaching staff and the improvement there, the development of the quarterbacks, the play calling was really good. You saw the defense with the late interception and the big plays throughout, and the man beast of Jordan Phillips out there on the field. You saw Kenneth Grant claiming that other D tackle spot next to Zach Sealer. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that as well. And, it really was, fumbles and penalties were a big part of this game. The 3 fumbles, and then they got 2 of them back, but then the penalties were huge. And so you'll work those things out, and we talked about who stood out. And we talked about Wilson, Ewers, Eskridge, and Theo Weas, and Tanner Cooper, Taj Washington, Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant. Just a great job all the way around. All right, don't forget, day in and day out, you have got just unbelievable Dolphins coverage with Kyle and Locked On Dolphins podcast. We're live after every game, including next Saturday night. Jacksonville coming to Miami. First preseason game at home for the Dolphins. So, yeah, it is really exciting. They get into the win column. The backup QB is playing great. And we are just getting started this season with your Dolphins postcast. So thank you for watching and listening to the postcast, the podcast as well with Kyle. And then, of course, NFL Fantasy Draft season is here for your second listen. Go find the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast with Vinny and Michelle. Listen every day to prep your fantasy for your fantasy draft and become the most informed manager so you can take home your league's trophy this season. Find Locked On Fantasy Football at YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's all there is, Phins fans. There is no more. My homage to the Mad Dog, Jim Mandich, one of my great mentors and an incredible friend to everyone who is a fan of the Miami Dolphins for life. Love you, Mad Dog. Appreciate all of you coming in the comments. We get to as many of them as we can. Dwayne, Sean, appreciate it. Man, oh man. John Bon Jovi will be fine new owner next season, and the new head coach will be Tim Biakabatuka if McDaniel doesn't produce this year. You're always going to get that. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dwayne. Phins for life. Really appreciate you guys as well. I am Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. I promise to do better next time, but I hope you enjoyed your Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, 24-17 Miami, the winner in Detroit. Keep your game tight and your mind right, baby. We are out.